Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 10, Part 1. We spoke of Taizong and Wei Zheng enjoying a game of weiqi in the residential quarters of the palace. They moved in turns to lay out their formation for battle. The game between emperor and minister lasted all the way till 3/8 into the 7th shichen. Before a lingering game concluded, Wei Zheng suddenly fell onto the desk and began snoring, deep in sleep. Taizong smiled. The virtuous minister is worn out from the heart. Caring for the welfare of the nation, he is simply exhausted from the labor of establishing a country. That's why he fell asleep without realizing. So Taizong let Wei Zheng sleep on without waking him up. Not long afterwards, Wei Zheng woke up and prostrated on the ground, saying, "Your subject deserves death. Your subject deserves death. I passed out and had no idea what I was doing. I beg your majesty to forgive me for the sin of discourtesy." Taizong asked, "What sin of discourtesy? Do stand up. Forget about the unfinished game. The two of us shall start anew." Wei Zheng thanked the throne, but just as he was picking up a game piece with his hand, the loud calls of the guard could be heard from outside the gates. It turned out to be Generals Qin Shubao and Xu Maogong among the rest. They threw down a bloody dragon head right in front of the emperor and reported, "Your Majesty, we've seen shallow seas and dried up rivers, but never anything so strange as this." Taizong and Wei Zheng got up and asked, "Where did this thing come from?" Shu Bao and Mao Gong answered, "South to the 1,000-step corridor, right on the cross street, a dragon head fell from the clouds. Your humble subjects dare not hide this from your knowledge." The Tang Emperor asked Wei Zheng in shock, "What is this all about?" Wei Zheng turned and prostrated himself, answering, "Your subject decapitated the dragon in a dream." The emperor was stunned and said, "The virtuous minister was in deep sleep. We witnessed no movement or weapon in your hands. How did you decapitate this dragon?" Wei Zheng reported, "My lord, your subject's body was before the emperor, yet my dream was far away. My body before the emperor was playing an unfinished game as I entered a haze with my eyes closed. My dream left you far behind as I rode on auspicious clouds, in high spirits and wide awake. That dragon was on the dragon-gorging platform tied up by heavenly soldiers. Your subject was the person who announced, 'You violated the laws of heaven. A death sentence is the suitable verdict. I am here by an order from heaven to carry out your beheading and end your life.' The dragon heard my words and fell into deep sorrow. Your subject, on the other hand, heightened my spirits. The dragon, hearing my words and falling into deep sorrow, laid down his claws and withdrew his scales, willing to accept his death. Your subject, heightening my spirits, girded my loins and moved forward wielding an icy blade. With a slash, the blade was swung. And for that reason, a dragon head fell into the void." Taizong took in his words and felt a mixture of sadness and joy. He was joyous because he was glad Wei Zheng proved to be an excellent minister. With a mighty hero like Wei Zheng on his court, who would ever worry about his reign going awry? But he was also sad, because in his dream he made a promise to save the dragon. He never thought the dragon would still be killed in the end. That being said, he could only feign high spirits and order Shu Bao to hang the dragon head at the central marketplace. That way, all the residents of Chang'an would be informed of the matter. Then he rewarded Wei Zheng and sent all the officials home. Back in his palace that very night, Taizong felt nothing but melancholy. He thought about the dragon from the dream and how he was begging in tears for his life. Who could have thought that life would be so unpredictable and the dragon bound to suffer? The emperor was caught up in his thoughts for a long time before growing tired and weak. At around the second watch, which was the hours before midnight, Taizong began hearing someone weeping from outside the palace gates, which frightened him even further. As he was dozing off, he again saw the Dragon King of the Jing River holding a bloody head in his hand, shouting from the top of his voice, "Tang Taizong, give me back my life! Give me back my life! Last night you were so full of promises about saving me. Why did you, the next morning, send the Chief Justice of Humans to decapitate me? Come out at once! Come out at once! I shall debate with you in front of King Yan." He started dragging Taizong and yelling non-stop. Taizong, on the other hand, had his lips shut tight and couldn't speak a word. Instead, he became sweaty all over from the struggle. Just as the two were in a tangle, from the direct south came a fragrant wind, and within the colorful mist appeared a goddess. She approached them, and with a sway of the willow twig in her hand, the headless dragon was sent straight to the northwest direction, still wailing. It turned out to be Guan Yin Bodhisattva, who was there by Buddha's order to find a scripture seeker in the land of the East. She was residing in the capital city of Chang'an, inside the temple of the Tuilary of Soil, when she heard the cries of a ghost and the weeping of a god. That was why she arrived specifically to drive away the sinful dragon and save the emperor. The dragon hence went straight down to the underworld and filed an official complaint. We will speak no more of that. We instead return to Taizong, who, having just woke up, began shouting, "Ghost! There was a ghost!" This startled the empress and concubines of every palace along with all the close servants and eunuchs. Trembling in fear, none managed to sleep that night. Soon, it was past the 5th watch when every civil and military official waited outside the gates for the morning court session to begin. But as dawn broke and the throne remained empty, the officials began panicking. It wasn't until the sun was high up in the sky when an imperial announcement was made, saying, "We have not been feeling well. All officials are excused from court." And soon, several more days went by and the officials became even more worried. They gathered to demand entrance into the palace gates to see the emperor and asked about his well-being. Just then, the Empress Dowager released a decree to summon physicians into the palace for a diagnosis. The crowd had to wait outside the gates for an update on the matter. Soon, the physicians came out. The crowd asked them what illness the emperor was suffering from. The physicians answered, "His Majesty has an unstable pulse, changing back and forth between weak and strong. He also blubbers about seeing ghosts. We diagnose that his pulse is out of place 1 out of every 10 beats. All his organs are losing vitality. We are afraid that the end will be within 7 days." All the officials were shocked to their core. Just as they were in a state of chaos, another decree from the Empress Dowager arrived, summoning Xu Maogong, Qin Shubao, and Yu Chi Jingde to see the throne. The 3 ministers received the orders and hurried inside the palace. After all the formalities, Taizong solemnly and sternly said, "My virtuous ministers, since 19 years of age, we have led troops to fight wars in every direction of the land. It was many years of hardship with not the slightest hint of wickedness. But somehow, we end up coming across ghosts now." General Yu Chi said, "In order to establish a nation, you have killed countless people. Why be scared of ghosts at all?" Taizong answered, "You wouldn't believe it. Outside the doors of our bedroom, whenever night comes, we hear bricks and tiles being thrown around, mixed with the wailing of ghosts and spirits. It is indeed unbearable. During the day, things are fine, but in the middle of the night, there is nothing to be done about it." Shubao said, "Do not worry, Your Majesty. Allow your subject and Jingde to guard the palace gate tonight. Let's see what ghosts they are. Taizong agreed, and after expressing gratitude, Xu Maogong was excused. That very night, the two generals, Qin Shubao and Yu Chi Jingde, put on their armor and took their axes as they stood on guard outside the palace gate. Splendid generals. Look at them, dressed in shining armor, looking mighty and fearsome. With them standing beside the door, not the slightest trace of evil was witnessed that night. And on that very night, Taizong slept soundly in his palace undisturbed. In the morning, he summoned the two generals and gave them plenty of rewards, saying, "Since we have become ill in the past few days, we could not fall asleep. Thanks to the might of the two generals, we had a good night of rest. Do head home and rest up, dear ministers, and stand guard again when night comes." The two generals thanked him and left. And so for several nights afterwards they stood guard and everything was at peace. However, the emperor was eating less and feeling more ill in the process. He also couldn't bear the generals working so hard every night, so he summoned them along with other officials and ordered, "These couple of days we have been resting peacefully." However, this demanded the two generals to go through immense hardship through the nights. "We intend to ask the most brilliant painters to create portraits of the two generals and stick the portraits on the doors. That way, the generals could be relieved from the work. How does that sound?" The officials agreed and followed the imperial orders. They chose two painters and had the two generals put on their armor the same way as before. Once their appearances have been drawn, the portraits were stuck on doors and the nights remained undisturbed. A couple of days later, the sound of bricks and tiles crashing could be heard again from the back gate. In the morning, all officials were urgently summoned to be told, "For several days we were happy that nothing happened at the front door. But last night, it was the back door that started banging. This is scaring us to death." Xu Maogong approached and reported. When the front gate was disturbed, Jingde and Shu Bao were on guard. Now that the back door is disturbed, Wei Zheng shall stand guard. Taizong agreed and summoned Wei Zheng to guard the back gate that night. Wei Zheng received the imperial edict. At night, after tidying his clothes, he took the same treasure sword he used to slay the dragon and stood guard at the back gate. A hero he was indeed. With his watchful eyes, what evil would dare come near? Candles burned through the night, and no ghost was found. Although the gates were now peaceful, the emperor's health only declined further. One day, the Empress Dowager announced once again a summons to all the officials. This time, however, it was to discuss funeral arrangements. Taizong also summoned Xu Maogong to entrust him with state affairs. When all the talks were done, the emperor took a bath, changed his clothes, and did nothing else but wait for the end to come. Just then, Wei Zheng appeared and clutched the emperor's robe, saying, "Do not worry, your majesty. I have a way to ensure a long life for you." Taizong said, "The illness has reached our bones. Our life is hanging in the balance. What long life is there to speak of?" Wei Zheng answered, "Your subject has written a letter to submit to your majesty. Bring it along to the underworld and give it to the judge of Fengdu by the name of Cui Jue." Fengdu, or the city of Feng, was where the underworld was believed to be located. Taizong asked, "Who is Cui Jue?" Wei Zheng answered, "Cui Jue was an official under your father, the late emperor. He was first appointed as the magistrate of Cizhou and later promoted to be vice minister of rights. When he was alive, we were sworn brothers and had a deep relationship. He is no longer with us now, but became the Fengdu judge of the underworld who was in charge of the register of life and death. We often meet in my dreams. If you go there and hand this letter to him, out of consideration for your lowly subject, he will certainly let you return and allow your soul to come back to the world of the living. Taizong heard his words, took the letter, and slipped it into his sleeve. Then he closed his eyes and died. And so the empress and concubines, princesses, and the crown prince, together with all the officials, put on their mourning apparel to grieve his passing. The Hall of White Tiger was where the coffin of the emperor was laid. We will speak no more of that.